Hi, I'm Eric, and we're going to talk about some feelings. Not really, but kind of. I had 3 experiences in my life that taught me a lot about some of the opportunities there are to represent data in ways that aren't visual. We're going to spend the next 3 days talking a lot about the visual communication of data, but I want to talk about things that are numerical values translated into non-visual sensory inputs, like smell, like space, and like sound. The first of these experiences I had was around 2010, around the Vancouver Winter Olympics. The New York Times put together a fantastic piece where they tried to show the margin of victory in speed skating events. And they did this by putting together a timeline. But it wasn't the timeline that was great. It was pushing play on the little button next to the timeline and hearing the sound in between each person as they finished the race. These are very minute numbers, and hearing the difference between them is what made me understand just how competitive these events are. Humans are incredibly astute at hearing the difference between sounds and parsing that information. The second of such experiences I had to do with my middle school teacher, an empty potato field, and Pluto. He took us outside to teach us about the size and scale of the universe. So we started at the front door of the school, we marked off where the sun was, we marked its diameter, and then we began to pace out through this field. And at first I thought this would go pretty quickly, but by the time we reached Earth and Mars, a lot of the day had started to pass, and the school was starting to be very, very small behind us. But we kept walking, and we kept pacing, and we kept counting, and we kept marking planets, and we kept going, and kept going, and kept going. And by the time we got to Pluto, we were out in the middle of nowhere. And it was at this moment that I realized just how big, just how vast the universe is, and just how small we are, and just how lonely Pluto might be. Something about crossing this distance, covering this space, and feeling that time, counting my steps, was much more impactful than reading those distances on a piece of paper. The third experience I want to talk about was my breakfast just a couple weeks ago. I reached into the fridge, grabbed the last cup of yogurt, only to notice that the date stamped on top was a few days prior. I was a little disappointed, but I thought I'd give it a shot anyway. So I cracked open that cup of yogurt, and I was immediately hit with this smell. Needless to say, I did not eat that yogurt. Now, there's probably a few of you in this room who are smelling that smell right now. That's because smell is tied directly to our long-term memory. The place where we process and store that smell is actually where we hold our long-term memory. So smell has an incredible impact on our actions because of that. So thinking about all of these different things, these data experiences, if you will, and the opportunities that exist, there's a chance to have a big impact and make a difference in the world. And going back to memory, these experiences are stored different than the way we store facts and figures. Facts and figures go in our semantic memory, but our episodic memory is where these experiences and our emotions are held. So not only are they much more memorable, but they also have a big impact on our life. Not only that, but they're universally accessible. It's easy for someone to walk out through a field and feel just how big the universe is, or to smell some bad yogurt and know that they don't want to eat it. So how can we take this, what I've learned, and solve big problems, apply this to complex data sets? Well, if we use the fact that we are really good at hearing the differences between sounds and parsing the difference, what if we what if we represented complex networks with sound? Would new patterns appear? Would we learn new things? Or what if we were able to experience the size of our ecological footprint and the footprint of those who are much less fortunate than we are, much in the same way that I experienced the size of the universe? Would our actions change? Would our behaviors be different? And finally, what if we were able to spread stories of injustice along with a smell to make them more memorable? Would we be less likely to turn a blind eye to them? Thank you. you.